Well, good morning. In in the last number of years, in an effort to sort of teach the how-to of practice, I focused on the Anapanasati Sutta, um, and a way of framing that sutta was for me to talk about knowing and steadying and calming and releasing, which I will do today. Um, I noticed well, just looking through things that I have, that I have more often in the last, you know, half year or more, um, been using Sylvia Borstein's description of the practice of mindfulness. So I thought it might be fun this morning um, to see how they basically are the same thing and to talk about them both. So the basic intention is to have something clear that we can work on when we're doing this practice. So, the Anapanasati Sutta begins with a very large community of Buddhist monks and the Buddha himself being somewhere doing serious training and practice. And it opens up by talking about the various elder monks, the more experienced monks, were teaching and instructing the newer monks in the practice by which they could know, they could discern each successive moment of experience as distinct. We don't tend to notice this in our normal lives, which move very, very quickly. Everything kind of blurs together, and we move from an experience of thinking to an experience of hearing to an experience of physically doing. We move from one experience to another, mostly without any sort of acknowledgement, even subtle acknowledgement, that, oh, things have changed. That what distinct experience was present is now no longer present, and a new distinct experience is currently present. And this is something that will be fairly, useful to practice as we sit in meditation, to notice when sound arises and hearing arises, and then when our attention on whatever the hearing experience was shifts to a thinking experience. And maybe as the thinking experience occurs, there are sensations in the body that we notice, feeling tones that arise. But it's not the only thing that changes. What also changes is self-identity, a sense of who I am. This too keeps changing, has been changing constantly throughout our lives. We have to work very diligently even exhaustingly, to sustain the continuity of a sense of self, because experience keeps changing. To make a bridge between who I am now and who I was at 15 takes work. Takes work. I don't have the same body. I don't think the same. I don't perceive the same. What triggers feelings is quite different. How I work with those feelings are very different. Everything's pretty different. Yeah. So Sylvia says that the practice of mindfulness is the practice of knowing what's happening in the moment, externally and within oneself. Okay, that's very helpful. That's in this moment. But there was a moment before this moment, at least that's the way we perceive it, that shaped how our experience of what's occurring now is perceived, shapes how it's perceived. And this Sylvia calls knowing the state of mind that's accompanying what's happening. The state of mind is what you bring into the moment. So, what is it like to have a state of mind? Well, that, I've been using for years the Harvey story. And the Harvey story is I am a person who had a difficult day yesterday. I had a really bad night's sleep. I woke up and it's cold and drizzly, and I decide I'm going to go down to the local cafe and get a cup of coffee and a treat to cheer myself up. And I pause for a moment and think, oh God, I'm really not in the mood to be social. You just want to hide in the corner. But I decide, no, I'm going to do it. I'll take a chance. So I'm walking down the block on the way to the cafe. The cafe is on the other side of a street I have to cross. And I get toward that corner, and who comes out around the corner but Harvey? Right? Who is Harvey? Harvey is someone I've known for years and years and years. Harvey is someone I really like a lot. Harvey's really great. Harvey, however, has this one quality, which is once Harvey gets talking, Harvey doesn't stop. And it's pretty hard to get a word in there. One thought for Harvey flows into the other, and it all gets verbalized. And Harvey's really dear, and it's just fine much of the time. But I see Harvey this morning after all that's gone on, and I go, oh no. I don't want to deal with Harvey. I have an unpleasant feeling tone arising, an aversive reaction arising. Those are what Sylvia says, it's knowing the feeling tone that's accompanying what's happening. So what's happening is I ran into Harvey. The feeling tone is unpleasant. And the response is, I don't want this to be happening. Go away. Go away, disappear, right? So what's the mind state that's accompanying? There's this aversive, grumpy, upset with the world, discontent mind state that I was walking down the block with. That has nothing to do with Harvey. This isn't about Harvey. It's about the mind state that I'm bringing to the encounter with Harvey. That's the experience. The practice of mindfulness is the practice of knowing what's happening in the moment. So imagine the moment I see Harvey and the unpleasant arises and the aversion arises. I know this. I know the mind state, which is grumpy and cranky and, woeful because I've just had a hard time for the last day and the last night. And so I know that this unpleasant feeling that's happening is not about Harvey. And in a sense, in a very vivid sense, it's also not about me. It's just the natural, the rain falls, the grass gets wet. You have a difficult day and a bad night's sleep. The grass gets wet is you have a cranky mind state. You're looking for comfort. You're looking for some kind of support and care. So in this moment, what's happening in the moment is I'm encountering Harvey. So what's the most wholesome response to that moment? And what would making that response be? Okay, so pause a moment. Let's go back to the Anapanasati Sutta. The Anapanasati Sutta says the senior monks were training the new monks in the practice of knowing each successive distinct experience. What's the purpose of knowing experience as successive and distinct? Well, in the case of Harvey, it's like it makes it really clear that this moment of aversion to Harvey's presence is a moment. This is not who Harvey is. This is not who I am. This is not what our relationship is. We're friends. The aversion is an experience that's arising as a result of. So imagine this. I'm walking down the block. I see Harvey. I know the state of mind that's accompanying what's happening. I know the feeling tone that has arisen in response to what's happening. And I immediately return to my breath, to the experience of the breath in the body, to the experience of walking. I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. The mental formation that has arisen, this aversion to having to encounter Harvey, and the bodily experience that then forms along with that mental state of aversion. I know this, and I steady myself. And what does steady myself mean? It means I don't disappear into a story. Oh no, Harvey, how am I going to deal with Harvey? There's a whole world you can build, or we do build all the time, in the face of a moment of an aversive response to an encounter. We can disappear, lose touch with the aversion, lose touch with the cranky mind state that was accompanying. But instead we steady ourselves. We rest in the aversion. We rest in the cranky mind state. We don't elaborate and make a whole big deal out of it. It's just a successive experience. A moment before Harvey was present was like this. At some point, Harvey will no longer be present, and that will be like that. We remember this. We steady ourselves in this is the experience of the moment. And there are energies that want us to engage in what am I going to say to Harvey? How am I going to deal with this? Whole things, energies want to come in and come in and come in. And we calm those energies down. We calm them down. It's okay. This is just one of many successive, distinct experiences. I don't have to make this into, a volcano of emotion and planning and thought. Now the most difficult, releasing the identification with the aversion, releasing the identification with the cranky mind state. These are not me. They're part of the successive experiences that is a life, one after the other, things changing, mind states changing, emotions changing, body experience really different. So I release that. This is not me. This is not who I am. These are just experiences that are arising in this moment. And Sylvia says, what is the most wholesome response to this moment? Make that response, she says. So I have established that this crankiness and aversion is not me. I have established it's not Harvey. I have established that Harvey and I are friends. So when I encounter Harvey, when we get close enough to begin talking, I say, "Oh, Harvey, I'm having a difficult day. And I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and treat and just sit quietly. So let's plan on getting together and talking some other time." And Harvey says, "Of course." Well, at least we hope Harvey says, "Of course." I mean, what would be an unwholesome response to Harvey? "Ugh, Harvey, I can't deal with you today. Go away." Right? Now you're suddenly taking your crankiness and projecting it onto Harvey. So Harvey now has to be cranky, right? It's not wholesome. Wholesome is expressing your vulnerability to the moment. The harder one, the harder one. Yesterday I had a great day. I slept really well last night. I woke up this morning and is about to make coffee at home, and I thought, no, I'm going to go down to the cafe, see who's there, and hang out with people. I'm really in a good mood. I'd like to be a little social. So I'm heading down there. I'm walking down the block. Around the corner comes Harvey. My mind state is filled with abundance and bountiful energy and an openness of heart. And Harvey comes around the corner and I go, Harvey, hey! And I'm delighted. Come and have a cup of coffee with me. Why is that hard? Doesn't that sound great? It does sound great, you know? What's the mind state? It's open and spacious. What's the mood? It's pleasant. And you want the pleasant to continue. So where's the problem? Ah, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Breathing in is a distinct experience from breathing out. There's successive. There's breathing in, then there's breathing out. Then there's breathing in, then there's breathing out. The confluence of all this pleasantness, the mind state I'm bringing with me, Harvey suddenly appearing just when I wanted somebody to sit and talk to, is not permanent. It's not who I am. It's not who Harvey is. When I see Harvey, my reaction is, oh, great. And the temptation is to get lost in the oh, great and forget that this is a distinct experience, that the pleasure in seeing Harvey is totally dependent on the mind state I'm bringing with me. And the pleasure leads me to want it to continue, to want it to be permanent. To want to make my relationship with Harvey permanently wonderful. To see this as, this is the life I want. This is the life I should have. If this isn't the life I'm having, I must be doing something wrong. Hey, wait a minute, where did the pleasant go? This is what steadying in the knowing that this pleasant moment is a distinct experience that will pass. And all the mental and bodily energies that want to try and make this permanent, want to try to keep this going, these are not me. This is not mine. This is not who I am. This is the experience of the moment. And the practice of mindfulness is the practice of knowing what's happening in the moment, knowing the state of mind you brought with you, knowing the feeling tone that arises in response to the moment. So, not to get flooded with this is the life I've always wanted and I finally have it, but to steady and calm that energy of wanting to identify with the pleasant as me, as mine, and releasing that to just enjoy the moment, be in the moment, be with Harvey, have a great time, but don't make it me. Don't end up with this sense of forgetting that this moment will pass. As it will. At some point, you and Harvey part company after hanging out for a while. Now who are you? Now what's present? Could be a whole variety of things. Are you open for a whole variety? Or are you now stuck in demanding that the world please you? Releasing each moment as being about me. And seeing vividly that this is just the current experience in a successive experience, series of experiences. A succession that had no beginning and has no end. It just goes on and on and on. And we get to ride this. And that's really amazing. We're really unbelievably fortunate in our ability to have such a vast array of distinct experiences. Such a blessing. It really is. So this is the instruction for this morning. To rest in each experience that arises, each moment of experience, knowing what the mind state is that you brought to that moment, knowing what the feeling arises from that moment, and sustaining through it all a sense of wonder rather than a trying to get rid of or a trying to keep. And the whole time, centering and balancing ourselves by really establishing the awareness of breathing, the awareness of this breath coming into the body, the awareness of the breath leaving the body, and the next breath, and the next breath, and the next breath. So let's practice this.